Okay, hello everyone. Glad to see who joined us today. I'm Volodymyr Kornienko, CBDO at IT Delight, e-commerce business growth expert. And today I will be a moderator and help to open the topic that we will talk today. And the topic of our today's podcast is migration from Luma to Hyvä. We'll consider these two themes, well, let's say technologies. We'll understand what kind of thing is that, the characteristics of the migration, its advantages, and practical cases of our speakers. So let's jump in the introduction of our speakers. And firstly, I am glad to introduce Manuel García Solipa. He is the tech lead of Ebolution company. Manuel is software developer with almost 30 years of playing around the code development and 20 years doing it professionally. He specializes in Magento and Adobe Commerce. And recently, Manuel has been leading a team of highly skilled engineers, and he is constantly exploring the new technologies and looking for the new best ways to do his job. On the other hand, we have my dear colleague, Alexandra Galdin, and he is the Magento 2 front-end developer at IT Delight. He is the front-end developer who have been enjoying working with Magento since 2016, trying different teams, approaches, taking part in over 50 projects. A couple of years ago, he discovered Hyvä, and his Magento experience wasn't the same ever since. So I think that the best way to give more inputs with whom we will be talking, Manuel, can you tell some more words about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Volodymyr. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm very glad to be here sharing with you. Well, as you said, there are so many years. I have so many years working around this in this world. This gray hair in my beard are not fake. Yeah, I actually have those years. So, despite the experience and so on, what I am most interested in my daily basis work is to learn new things and to understand how to be better in our job, right? How to improve the way we do the things and not to stick to fixed patterns or so on, if just because they exist and don't let us to look aside in order to implement better techniques and more efficient ways to do things. So that's how I came to Hyvä. And as you say, from Alex, since the moment I discovered this theme or this technologies, my developer journey haven't been the same before as it was before. So in my company, I work in Ebolution here in Spain. We do our best in order to help our customers to develop their e-commerce projects from the conception into the launching phases and in all the phases in between. So it's very important for us to understand new ways to do things and to add value to our customers.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you, Manuel. Alex, some words about you, and then we will get to our first questions. Alex, take your chair.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today. So as you said, I was really enjoying trying new things with the different teams, and that's actually how I appeared in IT Delight, and we started working together. And then I had a pleasure to work closely with the Internet German team, which is basically the origin of the Hyvä themes itself. So I'm very happy that I got to work with them and discovered Hyvä a couple of years ago. Yeah, and yeah, I totally agree. My life was never the same since then.
Nice. Okay. Let's go to the first question. And I think that the most important thing we should start with is not discussing Hyvä, but understand what kind of Luma is. So Manuel, what experience you've got with Luma? What features you had? What pros? What cons for that? Tell us some words about the Luma.
All right. Well, Luma is the native theme delivered with along with Magento, built in with Magento. But most important than defining Luma itself, I think, as Alex mentioned before, we need to understand not Luma itself, but all the mix of technologies that the Luma are based on. We are talking about required JS, we're talking about less CSS precompiler, we are talking about UI components and a lot of technical things that makes Luma and all the themes built on top of it, or on top of the combination of technologies, let's say the default way to make front-end development on Magento platforms. Not to mention the PWA technology, which is completely different, but themes built in with the platform. At the end of the day, Luma is just a combination of all the technologies delivered by Magento, as they thought. As Magento or Adobe thought the front end of the platform should be on the early days.
Okay, wonderful. Alex, do you have something to add? Tell us some words about your experience with Luma and what features you want to highlight.
Yeah, well, back in 2016, when I started to work with Magento 2, I also built all my themes upon the Luma stack. Not exactly maybe the Luma themes in all the cases, but most of the times it was a blank theme because it's quite clearer than Luma. And during my experience, eventually I came up with my own approach with creating developing themes still with the stack that Magento provides from the box, but from scratch, because I just wanted to get rid of the stuff that I don't use. For example, most of the times we had super custom designs for the project which had nothing in common with the Luma or blank theme. So I didn't want to use that CSS library that Magento provides, so I just got rid of that and based on the same technology stack, but from scratch, I developed the new themes. Yeah, and it went like 4 or 5 years or so up until I discovered Hyvä.
Okay. Maybe if you don't mind, Vladimir, just to add an insight of this.
Sure.
Maybe we need to one of the first things that we need to remember is that the combination of technologies which Magento delivers its front end, the decisions about what kind of front end it would be, maybe the technical decisions were taken, let's say in 2015 or 2014, maybe 10 years ago. There is a huge evolution of the whole front-end development techniques and tools that didn't even exist at the moment that took all those decisions. So and for some reason, maybe I don't like to say we got stuck in the past with those technologies, because I think it's not the right approach. But we had no more options more than just try, as Alex said, try to build a new front-end from scratch, but always using the same patterns of the Luma guidelines, let's say. And that went us to 2 years ago in scenarios where we built all the e-commerce platforms using the tools that we had in hand for the time. Yeah, right. So that's what came us to this scenario.
All right. So, understanding that the things you mentioned, Alex and Manuel, we can say that Magento, the Magento ecosystem, is like the living organism, and maybe Hyvä is the new word in this organism. It's like the new step ahead. So, Alex, can we talk about the Hyvä now? Tell us some words about the main advantages, let's say 3 main advantages in your opinion on Hyvä, and then we will talk about its pros and cons. So yeah, Alex, 3 main advantages of Hyvä.
Okay, let's name the first. I guess when I've started to work with the Hyvä themes, the main advantage for me as a beginner with Hyvä themes was that it's still a theme that I'm used to work with. It works by the same logic. It has the same structure. It has same inheritance logic and so on. So, for example, if I need to add some content to the page, I do it the same way as in Luma. I just create a template, maybe write some view models with the logic, then I add this block using layout XML and so on. So it was pretty simple for me to transfer from Luma to Hyvä, because it's still the same theme, unlike another approaches like PWA, for example, when everything is totally custom. So yeah, it's more it's much easier to transfer, especially when you are have some experience with the technologies that Hyvä suggests for approaches such as Tailwind CSS and Alpine.js. But both of them are pretty easy to study relatively fast. Let's say that. Yes, and you don't need to, for example, like in the Luma, you don't have to read through the CSS library to know which variable you have to modify to just change the color and so on. Then I'd say Tailwind CSS and Alpine.js are modern tools for development. They are still improving, and especially when it comes to performance, considering we have Knockout.js in the Luma, which is pretty dead, if I can say that. So yeah, we can count on any performance improvement in that framework, for example. And having the modern tools is the main advantage for me as a developer when thinking not only about the development process, but also about the performance. And eventually I've noticed that with these tools and this structure for the frontend, I care less about the development process, but more about the development result. What I mean here is that, for example, for adjusting some styles, you need to do a lot of tasks that won't bring you to the result, but bring you to the adjusting your development environment. So to adjust styles, you need to run a couple of commands in the command line. You need to find the right less module in the structure and so on. And with the Hyvä and the easier way to provide customizations, all you need is just to find the right chunk of your code and adjust an HTML file. That's it. Yeah, I'd say that's three most important advantages for me as a developer.
Pretty much informative, Alex. Thank you. Manuel, do you have anything to add regarding the advantages of Hyvä?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with what Alex said. I think it's pretty much from the development point of view, pretty much the most important things, because the learning curve into the new themes is already it's accessible, because we came from the same way to develop, and also focus on the results more than the development process itself. It's also a very good thing. I would like to add something that for me is more important than the technical stuff itself, and it's how, as you said, Volodymyr, before, as how Magento itself is a living organism, and the Luma ecosystem, or the Luma or the community around in this case, I'm sorry, Hyva, the community around Hyva is growing up and is completely alive, and we actually know that there are people thinking about how to improve and how to do new things in the very own platform that we are used to use. It was something that we got the feeling from Magento, that the efforts was let's say focused on PWA and PWA solutions, and a little bit less, just to say almost nothing, into the new things in the Luma perspective. So having people thinking how to do things in a new way with modern tools and so on, it's for me a good news for sure. And besides the exclusive technical stuff, that's the most important value for me from my point of view.
Okay, thank you very much, Manuel. Alex, we've talked about the advantages, the pros. Are there any cons in the matter of using Hyvä?
Well, obviously nothing is perfect, but yeah, I think the main disadvantage, I wouldn't say it's even a disadvantage after what Manuel said just a minute ago, because it's solving in time with the growing community. Well, the main disadvantage here, especially when you migrate in your existing project, you may have a lot of third-party modules or custom features and so on, which are not always compatible with the Hyva, especially if the module is more about the front end, maybe adding some new UI features, or I don't know, for example, store locator with the map and so on, and it's written with the default Luma stack. So when migrating to Hyva, you will definitely need to rewrite everything written in JS, because we don't have anything from Luma there. Yeah, and it is kind of a disadvantage, but of course, again, if the community will grow as fast as it is now, then we won't have this problem eventually.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alex. Manuel, any words about the cons of Hyvä?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree, because that was our main concern when we started thinking how to incorporate this new technology into our real projects. The thing is that you have a very customized front end, which depends on a lot of JavaScript. It's not as straightforward as it should be, the migration or the adaptation that you need. However, I think that even though it is a disadvantage, knowing that, let's say that the Hyvä development or the Hyvä development broke up all the existing way of generate CSS and JavaScript for the front end. You needed to rethink about that even from scratch. It is at all the levels of the part of the e-commerce, for the third-party modules and also the custom, your own modules. However, even though it is a disadvantage, we can think about that as a disadvantage. I'm sorry. I think it's one of the key points of the how safe, or how let's say why we embrace this project much and much more and more during the time is evolving, because we have seen third-party modules providers partnering with Hyvä, making their modules compatible with the new technology, and this is something that we haven't seen before. There are some options on the market or some attempts to do something somehow similar to Hyvä, and what the key difference here is how all the community, or the developers, as ourselves, has embraced the idea from the beginning. And I think that is what's a natural step, having the third-party module providers embracing the idea too, and making efforts to make all their modules compatible. So as you asked me for a disadvantage, is knowing that migrating an existing project from Luma-based technology to Hyvä forces you to maybe to rethink the whole thing, the whole project, because you need to actually have a second thought about all the decisions that you took on the beginning. So of course it's a disadvantage, but it's also a strong point, because it's good to validate your ideas and how you did things before, and sometimes from time to time.
Okay, so we can say that Hyvä is something about this thinking, world step ahead, the opportunities for the future. Okay, so you already mentioned some dev process peculiarities, but I want you to dive in that ocean. And when Hyvä has appeared, has it affected your development process? Alex, can you tell us some words how it affected your life, your dev processes?
Well, there are a million words about that. Actually. Yeah, especially.
We don't have enough time for the million words.
Oh, it's a pity. So long story short, I guess it's the all advantages are mentioned above. Let's say that, because what do we need for the comfortable development? We need modern technologies that are easy to understand and use. We need the easier customization process, because all we do most of the time is a customization task. When it comes, at least to the Magento, we have some base and have some additional features and customizations. And Hyvä provides the way of simplifying these things, completely removing the default Luma stack with the easier, more modern tools. And as for me, I can only say that my personal performance as a developer improved so much, and I received a lot of messages from the client describing me as a lightning speed man, or something like that. They in most of the times at the first time they wouldn't expect me to deal with the tasks they provide me so quickly, and that is the point of thinking about how much time do we really spend on the development process and not to delivering the result.
Cool. Very nice. Thank you very much, Alex. Your turn, Manuel.
Yeah, well, from my side, I think it's a little bit related with one thing I mentioned before. The most important thing for me in my daily basis, and for me, for my team in our daily basis work, is to count on a technological stack as much updated as possible, in order to get to let us to get as much information as possible from things that we didn't know yet. Let me explain that. For example, when there are many things written down in the wild internet about knockout, about required.js, about UI components of Magento, and of course there are many things already written, and you are able to find out responses, answers to common problems that you can face in your daily basis work. And at the end of the day, you can, if you don't find those answers that you're looking for, you can dive into the code and try to investigate by yourself. All right, but we are talking about a technological stack which is already outdated, and which is, let's say, which is not the most friendly stack to dive in. All right. In the other hand, with Hyvä, we are talking about Tailwind. Tailwind CSS is a very opinionated framework, and of course there are many people that likes it. There are many people that don't like it at all. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of information about Tailwind CSS, and examples and answers to things that you can face in your daily basis. And almost the same with Alpine.js, which is, let's say, that is less known than Tailwind CSS, but there is also a lot of information. But let's say that actually you don't need to be to get too much information about Alpine, because the use is very specific. The dependency on Hyvä about Alpine.js, it's on a very few key features of Alpine.js, and that's it. The rest of that is just plain JavaScript and nothing more. So in my daily basis, I prefer, when I say I also refer to my team. I prefer to dive into, try to understand what's happening with Tailwind CSS, not compiling well my custom classes, for example, than to try to understand a very complex structural of less files, and try to find out where I need to make the changes in order to have this working properly, or maybe to try to find out what's happening with one UI component which is not behaving as it's supposed to be. So the main thing here is that Hyvä was successfully reducing complexity on the Magento frontend. So as a developer, having less complexity on your baseline of work, it's always a good news, because all the things that you build on top of that will be your own technology, let's say your own development. So yeah, I would say that reducing the complexity of the tools that we work with is the key point for me and for my daily work journey.
Okay. So as far as I understand, less time, less complex, easier to work with. Let's talk about how business understands, affects, and how it was influenced by Hyvä. Being a business development expert, I understand that the less time you spend on the task, the less money I spend to the project. Is it right understanding of these things? And can you tell some words, Alex, how Hyvä affected the business also, not only the development part, but the business part of the world? Alex?
Well, I'm no businessman at all, so yeah, but I have some own expectations and imagination regarding business. So yeah, I still think that one of the main reasons of the successful project is when the development team is happy about what they're doing and enjoying the process of development. And when it's happening, the team is more flexible for new features, more inspired, and there are no such cases when the client put some feature request to the team and the team just holding their head and thinking how do they build something on something that is already has been built with that complexity in the code. So yeah, with the Hyvä and the process becoming so much easier, the developers, I see it in other developers who are talking about the Hyvä with, and they are more open to the new stuff than they were before. They are maybe even thinking in some another way. They are not stick to this Magento standards that they used to be. Talking about Magento standards, I of course talking about the front end stack and nothing else. So and I think it's one of the main reasons for the businesses as well, because the tasks are being solved much. It takes much less time, and at the end we have the new website, new beautiful website which works nicely, that has the great performance, and if it is, the customers are also really happy about it, and the client also happy about it.
All right, Manuel, some words from your side.
All right, well, I think that of course the business, from the business point of view, having improvements on the technology and on the team that is in charge of operating that technology is always a good news. All right. Of course, this is Alex mentioned before. This is I don't know if because we have no enough information about that, but I don't know if it is a linear progression there, or there is a correlation between the developer happiness and the quality and effectiveness and velocity of the new developments are delivered. All right, but I strongly believe that of course it's a key factor, because people enjoying their work will be, from my understanding, will be more effective on the way how they do new things and how they tackle down issues and new features and so on. So investing less time trying to make the platform or the technological stack to work just to work and just to understand all the wires that you need to connect in order to make a modification on a UI component, for example. I constantly mention UI component because it has so many mobile parts, and there are so many things that can be wrong. And it's so easy to make it wrong with UI components, and having people worrying about not to screw, I don't know if it's a bad word, but not to break things into the UI components, for example, and be confident about that the new developments will be done in a good way, and so on. Always, from my point of view, it's translated to let the customer to take the ownership of their projects, because you have the development team trying to add value to their businesses, to develop new features for the customers, and so on. So from my point of view, the key point here will be that the money put into the e-commerce platform, into the e-commerce project from the customer side, will be well invested in adding value to the platform itself, and not to keep it working and not breaking it with any new development that you add. So in this case, the reducing complexity is key, because having so many moving parts, as I said before, of course we have a lot of tools in order to avoid breaking things up, but if we have an easier or a less complex point of or baseline or starting point on the project, the development team will be worrying about new features and things that the customers, the end customers of the e-commerce actually need and actually see and actually add value to. Right, so that's my opinion about that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Manuel. I just want to add some words to the people who is listening to our podcast, from the guy who is always on the edge of negotiation with the e-commerce businesses. In my humble opinion, and based on the words of Manuel and Alex, Hyvä is something that helps the end user, the owners of the online businesses, to minimize the financial expenses on their projects, because it will take less time, it is less complex, minimum of moving parts, like Manuel have told, and that will also be the step ahead and a business advantage of the website, because the community of Hyvä is growing, it's speed, it's very fresh, it's good, and it will be a good plus for your online business. So let's move to the next question. And the question is about the case studies and the experience with working with Hyvä. So Manuel, can you tell us some maybe cases you can share with us working with Hyvä, some interesting stories about it?
Yeah, for sure. We have been working with Hyvä since the very beginning, as we said in the first in my first intervention. But doing so into real life projects, because the first steps was basically learning and so on. We started with very, very small projects. For example, that one online startup that sell a single product. We just implemented the product view page, the product page, and the cart page, and nothing more, because the checkout is falling back to Luma. That was our very first project. Since that moment, we started participating in more complex projects, and we end up migrating a huge store with a very customized front end Actually, I must say that this store is one of our best stores from the UX and UI point of view, and we wanted to, but the customer was worried about the performance of that store, the performance in terms of technical stuff, the speed and stability of the system and so on. So we decided to move completely all the front end theme from Luma, but keeping exactly the same UI that we designed before for the project. And that was I will say our most difficult or our most challenging project working with Hyvä, because we needed to replicate exactly the same UX. I'm talking about let's say a very modern way to present things on the front end, and some visual effects and so on. It was kind of different of the standard Hyvä theme that we were used to the date. I'm talking about a project that was launched to production last summer. And right now we are working on a mix of maybe I think that we can talk about that a little bit later, but we are working on a mix of a few small projects trying to replicate the same experience that we did before, where the UI is validated from the customer point of view, and we don't want to miss that, and we try to move on to adapt the Hyvä themes into that UI. And also we have working with a different group of projects where the default UI of Hyvä, or almost default UI of Hyvä, is just okay for our project. So we are taking a set, maybe changing a few things and just moving on. So yes, that's somehow our experience working with Hyvä.
Keep in mind the UI UX case. Well, I will be glad to hear the Alex experience in regard of cases. So Alex, take your chair.
Yeah, well, for the last 2 years, I've been working on, let's say, not 10, maybe around 10 projects already, but some of them were smaller, some of them were bigger. And for the smaller projects, for example, there was the case when there wasn't even a design for the project, and the client didn't know exactly what they want to place on the homepage, and we just sent them the link to the Tailwind components library, and they just scroll through the components, found the right ones, send us them, and all we needed to do is just copy the HTML and paste it to our code, and use it as a skeleton for our widgets for the homepage. So it's that easy. We don't even need to style things there. We just get the ready things, and this Tailwind components library is pretty big. Yeah, and even the free one, but there are also the paid ones widgets, and then the library becomes even more bigger. And yeah, when it comes to more complex projects with the totally custom designs and so on, multiple stores, there are some considerations. There was some considerations regarding how do we inherit the styles correctly and efficiently. How do we organize the templates inheritance and so on? How do we place the common JavaScript code chunks, components, and so on? Yeah, and the main point which I discovered while working on such complex stores is that don't overestimate the Hyva's performance scores from the start. You can always screw it up while you're developing. Please always think about the performance while you're developing. Hyva is not like essence of everything's great. You still have to think about the performance and the ways how you write the code, especially when it comes to complex UIs, when you have a lot of dynamic stuff written with JavaScript, a lot of JavaScript components within the same page. You should always think about that, and from time to time, always check your performance scores.
Yeah, or maybe ChatGPT will help. I don't know. Maybe. So Manuel, your UI UX case, go for it.
Yeah, well, I think that Alex already mentioned that, but one of our approach. Well, we have different approaches in when we face new projects and actually redesigns and so on. But the first one is to go to the Tailwind UI website and investigate on all the components that they offer. I think that one of the first things we did was to subscribe to the Tailwind UI's Tailwind CSS UI website, because as Alex said, it's just a matter of copying the skeleton of the HTML and making a few changes and having it working, right? So we ask our designers to use this website and some of them similar as their main source of information. And of course, we don't want all the projects looked exactly the same, but because that's not the idea. But always having a starting point from something that already exists. We are waiting for the Hyvä UI project, which is I think I have no details, but I think it will be something similar to this. And of course, we will. What we think about that is to having Tailwind CSS UI, Hyvä UI, and some similar tools that let us to have a starting point and not trying to redesign everything from scratch. All right, that's very, very important in order to deliver, let's say, in a quicker way. All right, of the project. So that's from one of the approaches. Of course, the other approach is to hear all the customer needs and design a very specific and tailored website or front end for that adjust to their needs, and those scenarios we need to jump into what the UX UI team designed and try to implement, but always trying to go back into the existing components, because for as much as we try to redefine or reinvent things on the front end, at the end of the day, all the things are not, of course, not the same, but a header and a menu bar or a product page is somehow similar to the rest of them. So in order to have a good speed of developing the projects, we try to go into common components and take the best approach of them.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Manuel. I want to talk about the speed of the website and how Hyvä affects it. So I want to divide our question into two parts. The first part will be the exact speed of the website, And the other part is the very important thing that many customers are asking me is the Google Core Web Vitals. So Manuel, how Hyvä affects positively or maybe negatively the speed of the website and that's Google Core Web Vitals?
Well, the first part about the general performance, let's think about that common from our own experience. You can end up with a project that loads maybe 500 or 450 requests on a single page view. In the home page, downloading or making 400, 450, 500 requests, most of them of JavaScript resources. And of course, we're talking about a website before to apply any WPO techniques, all right, as merging files and minimizing files and so on. All right, I don't want to focus on the solution for those problems, but all right, but a website trying to download 500 resources, JavaScript resources in this case. It's at least it's difficult to let's say to improve its performance. All right, to not mention to understand what are those requests doing actually and so on. So when Hyvä started reducing that complexity, mostly based on the JavaScript side. When they started reducing that complexity, that led us to have a better understanding of what's happening on the front end in this case, and have a better approach in order to optimize that. Okay, I can't say it's the perfect scenario, because of course there is always room to improvement, but as I'm having during all the conversation, the starting point that we get when we start working with Hyvä is way better optimized than starting with a Luma-based theme. So that's something that we need to keep always in mind, because of course there are many techniques in order to make improvements on the front-end performance, but just for a logical scenario, if you start with a less complex starting point, it will be easier for you to improve that performance. All right. So from the global, from my point of view, for the global performance itself, the starting point is key for us. All right, and going up to Web Vitals metrics and so on, I think that it's impressive to have a theme that led you to get almost a perfect score in the Web Vitals metrics from the beginning of the project, in the built-in. You just install the theme and you are getting almost perfect scores. All right. So it is not something that it's impossible with Luma. Let's get that clear. It's also possible with Luma. All right, but it's much more complicated. Okay. So as Alex said before, you start with almost perfect metrics on Web Vitals with Hyvä, but it's easy to screw them up. Of course, you need to keep in mind what's happening on what pieces are you adding to your project and so on, and how you can affect those metrics in order to make it worse. All right, but I think from my experience, breaking up things on Luma theme based and a Luma based theme is easier than doing it with a Hyvä theme based. So from the development point of view, and also from the business point of view, if you make a big investment on having the best performance possible in Web Vitals, and you need to keep that investment all the time, because at any time you can lose that all the improvement that you achieved at some point. It's also a benefit from Hyvä to let you get confident in order to keep the results that you effortlessly got from the beginning of the project.
All right. Alex, Manuel has told so many information in regard of speed of the website and Google Core Web Vitals. Do you have anything to add? I hope
well,
so.
I absolutely agree with everything Manuel said. But if we're talking about Core Web Vitals, just for me as a front-end developer, before I started to work with Hyva, there was always a request from each and every client to improve the performance scores, even before Web Vitals appear in the way that they are now. And the main problem, as Manuel said, always was the amount of JavaScript that we have loaded. In my opinion, and it doesn't matter actually if we load it with the separate 500 requests or with the single bundle, which is default feature but Magento, or even if we struggle a bit and create some custom bundles for each page, it's still a lot. And sometimes this JavaScript that is loaded, it's not even used on the page, even though we created the separate bundles, just because there are strong relations from between those scripts, especially, for example, with the Knockout.js bundle. There are a lot of components behind the main script which are loaded on every page, but aren't even used for most of the pages. So Hyva dealt with that with just they struggle a lot with the same that we're trying to find the ways how can we load less JS, but decided found the perfect solution, just get rid of all of that. And regarding the Core Web Vitals, Magento default themes such as Luma still has some problems with the CLS content layout shift. Just open the cart page and see how the blocks are popping up while the page is loading, everything's jumping and so on, because of the dynamic UI components. But the most problem is with JavaScript and the TTI score, time to full interactive, because loading this amount of JavaScript doesn't matter with the 500 requests or with a single bundle, is still a lot, and it scores with the 15 seconds. Even though you see the page within a second or two, the page is still loading, and it's loading within the 15 seconds. That's why you have the bad scores in the Core Web Vitals.
Oh, okay, Alex, thank you. So to sum up, maybe you have something more interesting information in regard to Hyva that you want to add, or some inputs, because you have much more technical background experience with Hyva than me. Just to sum up.
Yeah, well, I wanted to share some experience that we have here in Ebolution in order to develop our projects, because it's something that we mentioned in our conversation before, and I think it's worth to mention it. It's the approach we're following to try to reach more customers and to actually convince them to jump into Hyvä-based projects. We are in the Spanish market, and the Spanish market is well, of course, particular. Everybody thinks that their own market is particular, right? But in our case, facing a project for a customer, I am a small or mid-size company, facing a project of migration from our already working Luma-based e-commerce platform into a Hyvä-based platform. Sometimes it's something that is not easy to see from the first at the first glance. So what we have been doing is to try to mix try to face all the migration process in order to have the customer to get the benefits of migrating to Hyvä from the very beginning of the project, maybe to migrating just the index page of the website, or maybe just the CMS pages or particular pages of the project, and not the whole project. And what we use is the fallback system of Hyvä, and this system is designed to let you decide which part of the store loads the Hyvä theme, and which part loads the Luma based on another theme. So what we do is to use that system, that fallback system, and progressively start migrating the project. So customers start seeing the benefits from the very beginning of the project. Maybe you can compare the performance of your homepage based on Luma against your homepage based on Hyvä, and it's a key pointer to help us to convince them to move forward with the project. Right. So just to share with you this experience.
Very, very interesting and informative. Alex, do you have some words to add?
Yeah, I guess I would speak more to developers out there. Don't hesitate to use it, to try it at least. Some developers may be some kind of afraid at the first, because of it's kind of it looks the same, but it's kind of differs as well regarding the templates, the code styling, and so on. But I will be honest, I am one from that amount of developers that was a bit of a frightened at the beginning, but you just need to feel it, to feel this point of view on the alternative way for the front-end development for Magento.
Okay. Do not be afraid. Nice. Thanks everyone who listened to our podcast, live or recorded. Thanks to the speakers who share the knowledge. As far as we understand, sharing is caring. So thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Alex, for all the information you provided to all of us. If the topic was interesting for you, share the comments and questions under the video, I guess somewhere here. Also, put the like somewhere here or somewhere here. I cannot remember exact place where it will be. And if you are a Magento developer and you are interested in the technical events and materials, you can join our Pro Magento community. Somewhere will the link appear in the video, and there you will find the useful materials for upgrading your level of knowledge. Link in the video description as well will be added. We hope you enjoyed our podcast format. We plan to periodically do other videos on the same interesting topics and with interesting speakers. So if you have some ideas, what kind of topics you want to talk about, you can also add them in the comments. So stay safe and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.